I'm a psychologist, and this is one of the worst things that you can do for yourself psychologically. It's called thought fusion. And essentially, it's believing everything you think. So, thought fusion, fusing with your thoughts. The more you're able to distance yourself from your thinking and to view your thoughts as an observer and not fuse with them completely, the more psychologically healthy you'll be. The mind will typically offer you all kinds of thoughts. Like, it'll offer you, I think, like thousands and thousands of thoughts a day. They've done studies on this. And you have to think of your mind sometimes a little bit like a bully. So, you know how in school bullies often try like a few different insults before one really sticks? Like they're like, oh, your hair is funny, your face is funny, like blah, blah, blah. And one of them will stick. They'll get a reaction from one of them. And that's the insult that they'll keep using. Your mind kind of works that way as well. Essentially, when we get an emotional reaction from a certain thought, we start to truly, truly believe that thought because we use emotional reasoning. So essentially, the mind throws up a random thought like, oh, that person doesn't like me. And you have an emotional reaction. You're like, oh, wow, I'm really like worried that they don't like me. Like, that's horrible. And then what happens is you use that emotional reaction as evidence that that thought is true. But if you think about it, if you really think about it, that's like circular logic. Like there's no actual evidence that you have besides your emotional reaction and your thought. So just be careful of this. It's really important to realize that the mind just often really generates a lot of random thoughts each day. And the ones that stick are the ones that you're going to have an emotional reaction to. Are they true? We don't really know. Like, it's really hard to have objectivity with these types of things. And maybe one day you will, but do you really want it? Like, don't you just want to have your mind as healthy as possible? So typically what I encourage my clients to do is when they have a thought like this, to practice also thinking the opposite. So there's this phrase called devil's advocate, right? So you kind of think of the pessimistic version of an argument someone's making. But what you can do here is you can play angel's advocate, essentially. So when your mind offers you a thought like, that person doesn't like me, you can think like, okay, what would the opposite be? And what is the evidence for the opposite as well? Because typically there's evidence for both sides. And we don't often see that because we immediately go to that emotional reaction of feeling pain, feeling hurt, feeling fear that someone doesn't like us. And so the practice is to have that balance in your mind in order to not be so fused with your thoughts, because when you are fused with your thoughts, that's usually when we see the worst mental health outcomes.